Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan, and welcome to the 5th RWBY Vol.3 episode review. We're now knee-deep in the second round of the Vital Festival tournament, and now winter has come and gone. So after two very excellent episodes, can RWBY hit the hat-trick with the recent episode, or does it slip under pressure? Remember, this is all my opinion, and you're more than welcome to share your own in the comments down below. Also, watch at your own risk if you haven't seen the episode yet, cause it's time to look through episode 5, Never Miss a Beat. The episode opens as Team Punching Bag aka Cardinal are getting rocked, literally, by Penny with her partner in tow. Not much really to note of in this scene, it's kind of a short curb stomp and some Penny cuteness on display, though this fight introduced this platform heavy sector that's kind of a weird mix of Tron and Tetris styles. It's odd that it wasn't shown utilized for its first use. I think I actually would have preferred that. Either way, Penny's partner points properly to close combating cause Clock Hands commands it. I love alliteration. Penny's team are through, and RWBY dashes off to meet with her robo buddy and suffers a negative of said bond, cause apparently robot glomps can hurt. Anyway, it's here we get the proper introduction to Penny's teammate, Miss Ciel Soleil, voiced by RWBY animator Badiola, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. Ciel in French means sky, and Soleil means sun, and she seems very, a matter of fact, and rather regimented as well, given the strictness to the stick-to-the-schedule mindset that she has, and the blunt rundown of RWBY's bio. Penny convinces Ciel to allow a minute's chat with RWBY, and after Weiss gets burned a bit by RWBY, Penny shares that Ciel isn't so much a friend, more like she's ordered to be a teammate. I think in a way she's more like a handler sent most likely by Ironwood. Something I thought about after last episode though, when we saw Ciel's face for the first time, was perhaps she's based on the blue fairy, or more accurately, the fairy with the turquoise hair from Pinocchio. She was a guardian or a handler if you will of Pinocchio in those original tales, and of course in the Disney film, and she does share some of the similar colours, as well as having that star on the forehead, which kinda makes me think about that star that Geppetto wished on in the film. Apparently, Ciel isn't aware of Penny being a robot, Penny again claiming that Ironwood doesn't really want that fact to be public knowledge. Now, I know some people will point out the fact that she just had a fight where the swords were coming out of her back, but they do kinda mask it with that backpack that she had on at that time. At least to make sure that people don't think the swords are coming out of her back instead of the bag. Penny also mentions that she wishes to stay in Beacon and leave Atlas, something that she admits as well as RWBY that's kind of a near impossible task, though she does mention that she has a plan, though sadly Ciel cuts in to deny us any further information, and the girls part for now. Just in time as well because it's time for Yang and Weiss to take the stage. Nice to see the two chat, as I don't think they've had much time to just the heiress and the wild child being shown. And speaking of wild, the two get cut off as a rainbow of all things dashes by. Well, it's actually a cat furnace emitting some rainbows. And it's their opponents from Atlas, Team Funky, at last finally showing up after Miles name-dropped the pair, or at least the team, at RTX. We only see two of the team in this episode sadly, but they are the pair of Neon Cat and Flint Cole. Yes, as in Flint Cole from the Minecraft Let's Plays and the pop-top rainbow riding kitty meme Neon Cat. Flint Cole wields a dust-powered trumpet, and he's voiced by rapper, writer, director, and dancer, as well as fellow Flint Flossie. And the suave-looking dude has some words with Weiss, and sadly it's not the very pleasant kind as well, since apparently Weiss's dad and the Schnee Dust Company ran his father's dust shop out of business. Poor Weiss tries to apologize, even though it's obviously not an action that she made, but Flint brushes her off. Yang attempts to defend her partner, but gets cut off by Neon, who, let's put it this way, she's kinda like Nora, but if you take out all of the nice elements from her and put in a ton of insults to spew at some people to mess with them. She's also packing nunchucks, and is voiced by RT personality, cosplayer, and host for the No and Free Play, Meg Turney. It's already turning into a bit of a catfight, if you pardon the pun, with Neon slagging off Yang's looks, And once the biomes of desert, volcanic, city ruins and hot springs are picked, the fun begins, as Flint brings the noise and emits some loud sound waves from his trumpet, pinning down Weiss and Yang, who gets body checked by Neon. And it's also time for a new battle track that's kind of a mix of jazz meets club rave, which kind of fits given the funky pair. Neon has Yang's emotions already rolling and keeps pushing her buttons while using her high speed to wheel in and out of some strikes. She also activates her glow stick nunchucks to use their dust effect. Neon strikes some more to freeze up Yang's limbs, though more heated verbal jabs ignites Yang's anger and melts the ice. And now we're over to the musician and the heiress. Weiss spins up some ice missiles, though Flint hits a hot solo beat as the tune tags into a jazz version of This Will Be the Day. Freaking awesome! And look, we even see Weiss use wind for once with her weapon, struggling her twister against Flint's own wind instrument. Get it? Wind instrument? Oh haha. Weiss doesn't stop her attacks though, bringing back the rapid dash glyph move from before. But Flint uses his own ace up his sleeves, going from a solo artist to a colourful quartet via his semblance. The added wind power sending Weiss flying. Neon and Yang fly back into the scene themselves, and the cat girl has really got under Yang's skin, distracting her as Flint diverts from a disarmed Weiss to charge a 4-man blast at the blonde brawler. Cue Weiss's second and honestly worst burn in this episode, as she selfishly uses her last amount of energy to save Yang and tackle the Flint foursome into a nearby fiery blast. Sadly for her and for Team RWBY, she's out, and Flint is only just hanging in there, leaving Yang on her own. But that's the last straw, seeing Weiss go down causing a jazzy eye burn track, and time for Yang to explode, coping with Flint's sound waves and Neon's quick moves to rain heavy fire down on the ground, putting off the two's balance, and giving her just a big enough window to shoot her way down to Flint and finally silence the music, KOing Mr. Cole. Neon's been diverted to the bumpy ground now, and it's not really the best idea for a rollerblader, and it signals the end. After tripping up and rolling into a geyser, she's a sitting duck for Yang to seal the win with a well-placed shot and some fireworks. No time to celebrate though, as Yang goes in to check on a very well done Weiss. Wounded and roasted a little, but still able to crack some jokes with Yang. She should be fine, but I think that's her for the tournament. They also get some respect from Neon and Flynn as well, which is good to see, and it looks like Weiss has made some new progress in trying to cope with some after effects of the actions of her old man. So RWBY are through to the next round, but the pleasant feeling doesn't last, because we now cut to the latest scene of Cinder and Co in her room plotting all evilly, and a new development brings some bad news. For Cinder has come across the schematics for Penny. Note that she also highlights Penny's hand at one point, as she mentions things in her plan seem to be easier now with this new acquisition, which can't be good at all. The episode's final scene, however, is with Ozpin and Crow, who still isn't happy about Ironwood's actions. Ozpin though does still have faith in his friend, and upon Crow asking about his pick for a guardian, shares his option. Apparently his candidate is someone that's been in his mind for some time, and along with her kindness, intelligence, and strength, feels she's ready for that role. His pick? None other than Miss Pyrrha Nikos, who looks to be on her way to meet up with the headmaster, though there's one little discussion topic still to talk about. Apparently, some people think that this look from Pyrrha is kind of menacing and unlike her, some touting this might not even be the real Pyrrha, but someone else, namely Neo or Emerald for those who think that she was the one who was Master Yatsuhashi in the last week's episode. Me personally, I don't think so. If anything, it reminds me of that smile she had in Volume 1 with John, and it's more just a simple content smile in the end, at least in my eyes. Plus, how would Cinder's lot know not only that Ozpin's picked her for a guardian role that the villains aren't even aware is a thing? Where would be the real Pyrrha if this is a doppelganger? We never see a second Pyrrha in the shot, kept elsewhere being distracted from meeting up with the headmaster, so I imagine this is indeed the real deal. Though of course, she is still someone that we know is a target in Cinder's eyes, and with her polarity semblance, Cinder's evil intentions, and the changes to the plan brought on by finding out about Penny, the episode ends leaving a dark cloud forming ahead that's given me some very bad vibes. And that's the episode rundown, so let's go into the negatives and positives. Cause yeah, unlike the last 2 episodes, I do have some negatives to share. Firstly, a small one, as mentioned before, I didn't get why they showed off that new puzzling sort of biome if it wasn't going to be used. Next is, while the fight was good, and I'll get into it in a bit, I will admit that I'm sort of worried about this trend where Team RWBY, Juniper, and even Team Sun go up against teams that, while fun, were clearly never gonna win. The same can be said for any match that's involving Cinder's group as well, and I think this is the fight that made me wish for a fight where either they face other key teams or we see an upset. Okay, we expect Team RWBY, Cinder's lot, and Juniper of all teams to go far because of their plot armor, but Team Sun don't really have much outside of being fan favorites, and the only team to lose that is a mainstay and are also fan faves was Team Coffee. It's why I was personally wanting to see Weiss and Yang go up against Sun and Neptune, not only to see 2 fan favorite teams fighting against each other, kinda like with a food fight in Volume 2, but it also adds more to the fight, since Team RWBY is facing a key team that's not new and may never return, and it gives Team Sun a plot element, seeing Weiss face off against Neptune following his antics in the last round, and also let us see, honestly, Blake's 2 closest friends, Sun and Yang, face off. That point is a bit nitpicky, I must admit, but still, while the fights are great, I do wish they had more tension due to facing teams that's even a slight possibility of a legit threat. And finally, I'm kind of wearing thin on scenes with Cinder's lot in her room, since most of them have been involving Cinder going, "Ooh, we're planning something bad," or "Ooh, you found something out? Let's add the details to the plan." She's not given much else to do, and these are the scenes where we see her the most, yet there's a trend lately of she's either scheming in her room or in the crowd looking menacing, and that's it. Emerald and Mercury are also in the room scenes as well, not doing much else, but they're shown doing stuff elsewhere that does have some purpose, and is something different, like their fights or when Emerald was having some chatting with Ruby. I feel as though Cinder needs something else to do. Ever since sneaking into the CCT, she hasn't taken part in the plan herself, having barely nothing shown while fighting in the tournament and leaving the rest to Emerald and Mercury. I know it's more or less to build up when shit hits the fan and when she truly gets involved, but there's only so much evil plotting that I can take. Give me something else with Cinder to help her seem more like a threat and make her actions more interesting. This episode does have some positives though, so let's not forget them. For one, and I think above everything else, the MVP of this episode was the amazing energy-fueled tracks for the main fight. Once again, the music team have shown that they can do wonders in all kinds of genres, and even remixing some old tracks. And Casey's vocals once again hit gold, especially in the jazz remix of This Will Be the Day. Once more, I am drooling at the prospect of the full tracks being released and the OST as a whole. Next up is the fight itself, which, while not as fluid as last week's, I did like the approach and it was still entertaining. The timing in a lot of the attacks with the music was especially good, and the mashups of having the 2 mages and the 2 melee fighters clashing against each other was a nice touch. It was also a great set piece for Weiss, not just in showing off more of her fighting skills, but of course her sacrifice, giving a clear sign of progress from her early days. She wouldn't have made that move for others, let alone Yang, in her early mindset, but here, it's a Weiss who is more of a team player and is considerate of her team. She knew she was on the ropes and that Yang was in trouble, so she risked herself to try and aid her partner. It's good progress. Plus, it helped more to the relationship that she has with Yang. It wasn't much, as I said before, considering interactions with her and Ruby and as well with Blake, but this moment and the banter overall gave the two some time to mingle by themselves for the first time since, I think, Volume 1 when they were looking for Blake. I hope we see more of these two connecting as a pair, as honestly they're the most underrated relationship going on so far in the team, and their contrasting personalities and mannerisms make for a lot of charming and funny moments. For small roles that might never come back as well, and for two characters based on a meme and a running gag in Rooster Teeth, the RWBY crew made some fun characters out of Flint and Neon. Okay, Neon was kind of bratty, but it worked for what she was involving. And I like that through Flint, we had someone who's affected by known plot elements, that of course meaning him being affected by the actions of Weiss's dad. And this in turn allowed us to see Weiss dealing with people like that, who's tied to the actions of her father. If these two ever show up again, I wouldn't be annoyed since they have been quite fun, even if it's just ended up as big cameo parts, since they were very lively and entertaining to boot. I also like the little bit of Ciel that we saw. She looks like an interesting aspect to Penny, and a good person to be tied to, and I'm sure we'll see more of her being tested and explored as Penny's story gets told. The scene with Penny and RWBY was very charming, and provided some smiles seeing more of these two oddballs connect, which, while sweet, will obviously be a friendship that's tested following news that cinders onto Penny's true identity, and now adding it towards her schemes. Whatever she has planned can be good, and knowing that it's involving Penny adds some good tension for the relationship of the Nuts and Bolts pair. Same too with Pyrrha, looking like the next focus point as Ozpin's guardian pick. Hopefully this means the next arc will be based on seeing more to Pyrrha. For the voice acting praise of the episode, I'm giving it to a new face. And while I gotta praise Flint and Yisa for their respective showings in their first go, the major praise goes to Meg Turney for sounding very solid as the hyper and oftentimes rude Neon. And that's the review, folks. While not the worst episode ever, I do think it's not as strong as some of the others in the volume so far. It feels like the decent branching episode that connects between two noteworthy ones. The music again was the standout, but even then, with the handfuls of negatives as well, I did still have fun, and I rated higher than most of the show's weaker episodes. Do you agree with me though? Did you enjoy the fights and Team Funky? Are you worried about Pyrrha and Penny? Comment away down below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video if you did, and subscribe to keep up to date with my uploads. Plus check me out on Twitter at ThatKaitoDan to catch up on posts related to RWBY, some project updates, and more. And until next time, I'm off to play some more Xenoblade Chronicles X. So have a good day and a good night, and peace out.